Hello and welcome to the Business Building Blocks podcast with your host, Kristina Schmidt. So today's podcast is going to be very exciting for me. I've been attempting to record this podcast for at least 2 weeks, and I've been thinking about recording it for the entire time of this podcast series. So today we're going to talk about, finally, the 6 types of working genius. So there is an entire podcast series done by the Table Group all about the working genius. So today I'm not going to talk about what it is. I'm going to give you enough of an overview so you're not saying, what in the world is she talking about? But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you the top 5 reasons why I absolutely love the working genius. So before we get into that, though, I will describe for you what the working genius is and kind of give you an overview. And for those who are watching it, I'll show you the diagram of it so you can see exactly what it is that I'm talking about, and it gives you a better visual for how it works together. But be sure you do stay tuned for the end, because I have something to share that you might be interested in, especially after listening to the podcast. So be sure to hang on till the end. So first of all, let's talk about the working genius. What is it? So it is an assessment tool. It's something you go in, it's about a 10-minute long assessment, but it's about 20% personality assessment and 80% productivity tool. So how can an assessment be a productivity tool? So the way it's designed, it is designed around how we do work. And so it's intended to be extremely simple and easily applied to the work that we do. And so by work, we mean anything and everything that we do. So it can be work like launching a product or starting a new initiative in your workplace. But it can also be at home. So planning a family vacation, planning renovations, going to get groceries and doing your weekly meal plan. All of that has work involved, and it is all the work that we do, and it is all part of what we do. So this can be applied in all of these instances. And it is about what brings us joy. So it has a little bit to do with the ability, because when we do things we like, we tend to get better at them because we do them a lot. But it's about things that we're naturally gifted with. So these are God-given gifts that we utilize naturally and that we're good at utilizing. But these are the way that this will bring us more energy. They will bring us just joy in general. They'll engage us further. And so these are the things that we want to be doing ourselves, and we want to swing our work towards. But we also want to make sure our team is using their natural gifts as well. And so this is the beauty of this. So if everyone is working in their gifts, whether at home or at work, then they're going to have more joy. They're going to be more productive, and they're going to be more engaged. And aren't those all the things that we want, both at home and at work? Right? So this tool is perfect for that. A little bit more to describe it. I'm going to put it up onto the screen for those who are watching on YouTube. So this is the model here. If anyone's ever done StreamYard, it's backwards. So this is the model here. It spells widget. Yes, it does. So apparently when they were designing it, they got to widgie. And then they said, well, we have to make the last letter T. So it wasn't done on purpose, just to be quirky or anything. But so it's designed around the way work is done. So traditionally, people will think of work in 2 stages. So the first stage being, hey, I came up with the idea. So that's ideation. And the last stage being, okay, now we got to put it in place. So that's our implementation. But what happens to be forgotten a lot is the activation part. And so when we don't activate people around it, we tend to have things like ideas that just fall off. We have really frustrated implementers, and we just don't get the same buy-in because either we haven't chosen the right solution or made the exact right choice of what we're going to implement, or we haven't gotten people excited around it. And so both parts are key. And this is the key about this model. So if you're fortunate enough to be watching it and you can see it, you can see that there are gears that are connecting it. And so the gears, if you know anything about how gears work, and we all have the very basic concept, right? But when you start turning one, the whole scheme turns. And so the whole system will turn. And it's very much like that here. And if you're missing a gear, something's not going to be turning well or right. And so that's the idea, is every single genius is critical. Every single genius is important. And this is why we need each other in life. We need partners. We need teams. We need help. So we need to make sure that we're using our team around us, and we're using our resources and our community, our village to support our lives and our business and everything we're doing. And so this is just another example of that. So just to talk about the fact there's 6 letters. So the geniuses are wonder, invention, discernment, galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity. So I will get into that in a moment. But first I want to kind of talk about the 3 things within them. So what we say, there's the 6 types of working genius, but we all have 2 geniuses, 2 competencies, and 2 frustrations. And so by genius, we mean these are the things that bring us joy. So this is the type of work that we want to be doing and that we should be doing, because we're going to be more engaged and we're going to just be better at it. So like when we're good at it and when we enjoy it and when we're engaged, that is how we're going to be more productive. We're going to be more fulfilled in our lives. We're going to have energy after work for family and for things that are important to us. And it just all around better life. And our team will have a better life around. So those are our 2 geniuses. And that's where we want to spend more time. The next is our competencies. So these are things, they don't necessarily bring us joy, but we don't hate them either. So we're probably pretty good at them. We could be really good at them, but they're not the things that really fulfill us. So yes, we can do them, but if we do them for too long, we will become de-energized, demotivated, and frustrated. And I know, speaking from personal experience, when you're spending too much time in your competency, you get almost burnt out from it. And I'm using this lightly, so please don't take it the wrong way, but it's almost like PTSD about it. And so it gets to the point where you can't use it anymore. You can't use it well. And so it almost becomes a frustration because you've overused it. And so that can be a big problem for a lot of people, because every job is a 6-letter job. So all the work that we do, we are going to need to use all 6 letters. The problem is we just don't want to spend most of our time in our competencies and frustrations. We want to spend more of our time in that genius zone. And that it's not the genius zone, but in working in your geniuses. So in the last 2, so geniuses, competencies, and the last 2 are your frustrations. And so these are the things that will likely be very quick to frustrate you. They will likely send you kind of into, I just don't want to do it. You'll have dread. And so they're things that you don't like doing it. You may be really bad at them, but you also may be really good at them because maybe you've had to use them. So like for myself, I'm actually pretty bad at my competencies, but for myself, like tenacity is my lowest letter, my lowest competency. And so for me, that one is, it becomes extremely frustrating for me, but I get burnt out so fast. But you have to do it. You can't not do things. You can't not finish things. But when I have to do these drudgingly kind of seemingly mundane tasks for me, the motivation is not around finishing it for me. And that becomes very frustrating. But what I'm just trying to get at is that, yes, you can become good at them because you have to do them. You have to do more of them. So a lot of times when we start out in our careers, most of our jobs have this tenacity level to them because we are kind of a support system to our higher ups. And so you have to learn to do them, and you have to learn to do them at least okay. Otherwise, you're probably not going to make it to any level up higher. But ideally, we're spending more time in our geniuses, and we're going to have more productive, even new starters, if we spend more time in the geniuses. So I'll get into each of the letters and kind of describe them for you. And you can kind of work through self-assessing as we're talking and see, okay, maybe that's me, maybe that's me. Typically, I think that people can guess probably about one of their letters, but sometimes that second letter, at least for me, it's sometimes you can kind of bounce between 2 or 3. So from the top, the W is the genius of wonder. So people with the genius of wonder, they're going to find joy, and they're probably going to be pretty good at sitting there and contemplating things. And so these are the people they enjoy, and they want to think about, is this the best way? Or why is that this color? Could we do it a different color? Or, are we really doing the best thing right now? And so a lot of us can ask these questions, but I think the difference between having the genius in it versus kind of just doing it because we have to do it in life is that A, it brings us joy, but B, you're not kind of rushing through it to get to the next thing. Or I know for myself, wonder is another one of my frustrations. So I'm kind of at both ends of the scale here. But for myself, I have a hard time sitting still. So even like when I'm having prayer time, my mind is going, or I feel like I should be moving, and I have a really hard time sitting. And I think that's indicative of the fact that it is a frustration for me versus a joy versus a genius. And so someone who's in a genius might be more comfortable sitting still. And they might have, that time where they can just kind of sit and like stare at nature, stare at a fire, or, and just let their brain kind of ask questions. And so that would be kind of a distinguishing factor. For the I, so moving on to I, that is invention. So people with the genius of invention love to create. Their most favorite thing is to have like a blank slate and to just create something new. They could be building it, they could be drawing it, designing it, writing it, videoing it. And so these people love to create that. So people with the genius of invention, they're going to invent whether they're asked to or not. And they might be inventing when we're trying to implement something. And so you kind of got to watch out for when you have your genius. And so something that we all need to be mindful, and a benefit of knowing it, is the fact that, I know when I should maybe quiet my invention, or maybe when I should bring it forth, or my not invention necessarily, but my genius, or bring it forth. The next one is the genius of discernment. So discernment is about making a decision, yes, but it is more about a gut feel. And so people with the genius of discernment, they're going to find joy, and they're going to be fulfilled by kind of using their gut, and they're going to be good at using their gut. And so their decisions in their gut, it's not based on data necessarily. They may not be able to support it, but what it is they're actually very good to the point that they don't notice it and they don't see that they're doing it, but at recognizing patterns in the world and saying, I think this is going to be the best way to go. And so it's just that instinctual sort of feeling. The next one is the genius of galvanizing. So galvanizing is about getting people excited and rallying the troops around a concept or around an idea. And so these people, they want to get people excited about it, but they'll also want to keep pushing it. So galvanizing is in my competency, so I love doing it. And some people might think that it's one of my geniuses because I get really excited about things. And so I am genuinely excited, but I just think that people should just say yes and just go with it. So if I have to then re-push, I get frustrated. So, or I get bored, I guess. So I do get very excited, but people with the genius of galvanizing, they'll get excited and they'll be genuinely excited about a concept. They will push it and they'll keep pushing it and they'll keep pushing it. So think a project manager or somebody who's getting and keeping everybody in line and on board with getting the project done and kind of bringing it home. So they're kind of the pushers for that. So your next genius is the genius of enablement. So enablement sometimes gets a bad word. So we might be enabling bad habits or something like that. But this genius is so important because when someone is galvanizing, these enabling people, they want to jump in and say, I want to help. How can I help? What can I do to make this go? Because yes, this is exciting. I'm excited and I want to help any way I can help you. And so they're kind of those early adopters in a change system. They're they get very excited about it, and they'll help get others on board just for the fact that they've gotten on board. And so they're huge on a team because that kind of brings a cohesiveness to the team because they're encouraging that, helping one another. And so with enablement, typically they're motivated by helping the person, not necessarily what the task is. They just want to help the person. And so that's a good distinguisher between E and T. So moving to T, so T is tenacity. So tenacity is about finishing the task. And so yes, people with the genius of tenacity, they're usually very good at details as well, but they want to make sure it is finished, closed up, done, dusted, I's dotted, T's crossed, everything is put away, and boom, boom, boom. And that brings them joy. That makes them happy. When they see something hanging out, they're like, I have to finish it. And so they're going to be very motivated to help a project or to help work get done because they want to finish the task, and that brings them joy. And so little difference and nuances between the E and the T there. Also, E's, speaking as an E, we don't necessarily have tenacity. So maybe we don't dot every I and cross every T. So that's another distinguishing factor. So just for your knowledge, my letters are ED, so I'm enablement discernment. My competencies are invention and galvanizing, and my frustrations are wonder and tenacity. So if that tells you anything about how this podcast goes, it might be a little bit telling. So getting into the meat and potatoes of this podcast at 16 minutes in. So sorry about that. I do talk a lot about the working genius, so this may be a bit longer of one. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull in my inner David Letterman and do a top 5, not 10, a top 5 reasons that I love the working genius. So number 5, it is so simple. So I have taken and learned about so many different of these personality type assessments. So you've got Myers-Briggs, you've got, I think, the PI, the DISC, I can't remember them all, but SDI or something like that. So there are so many of them. And this one is the one that just can stick in my brain. A, because it's literally just 6 letters. Yes, we do talk about combinations of them, but that's more of a confirmation. So if you look at your combination and kind of read that description, you can say, yeah, that's definitely me. But the combinations aren't as key in here. You just literally have to think about, okay, how do we do work? Where do I stick that genius in? Where do I stick that person with that genius in there? Or I'm missing this genius. How do I fill it in? And so it's so simple, so easy to use. It's almost instantaneously able to implement something and see an improvement. So whether you're applying it to your team meetings to make sure that you're staying in the right genius zone about your meetings, like, is this a wonder, invention, discernment meeting, or just a wonder invention meeting? Is this an ET meeting where we're just getting the tasks done? Are we talking about how we're going to galvanize this, or are we discerning 3 or 4 different things? So what are we talking about? It gives you the language for that, and so you can instantaneously put it in. You can instantaneously make your problem solving more effective. If, let's say, you don't have wonder on your team and you're constantly solving and resolving the same problems, well, gosh, let's borrow some wonder. Somebody with a genius of wonder, put them in place and say, hey, what do you think? What do you see? What's striking you right now? Just talk to us, And so it's amazing the power that when you ask people to just use their geniuses, that they'll jump in, they'll be engaged, they'll get excited about it, and everyone's going to come out happier. And so the simplicity of it is just what makes it so beautiful to use. So again, whether at home or at work, it is very simple. So moving to number 4, less annoying conversations. So yes, they're probably going to be more productive, but they're also going to be less frustrating for everybody. So there's a lot of times when people will be having a conversation and somebody maybe with the genius of like a W and a G together. And so they're wondering, so they just kind of spitball and think about things. But then because they're naturally good at also galvanizing, people, when they're listening, they might think that they're galvanizing them. And maybe they are, and they just don't realize it, but they're galvanizing them around some question more than an idea. And so now you've got a frustrated person saying, I don't even know what they want me to do. And they're kind of sending me off to go do it, whether they mean to or not. But when you have a language for it, you can say, are you galvanizing me, or are we just kind of spitballing here? And you can say, oh gosh, I was just asking a question. Don't go do anything yet. Or tell me some ideas if you have some. So you can kind of correct that. But also, let's take our WG person. So a W person, all they really, really want is somebody to go, yeah, I wonder. So just to kind of wonder with them, or maybe to invent, but really they don't need that. They just want someone to go, yeah. But what's really frustrating is if you don't go, yeah. So somebody with discernment who's listening to somebody who is wondering, apologies, might say, yeah, that's not a good idea. And so that can be very frustrating for the wanderer. Oh, I'm sorry. I have been sick lately, so excuse my coughs here. I've been talking for 20 minutes as well. So both in understanding what level of conversation we're having and also understanding what each genius craves or gets frustrated by can really help streamline conversations and improve how people just even work together or live together or move forward as a team together without annoying each other. And so huge benefit there. Meetings, personal interactions, brainstorming, problem solving, experimentation, all of that it would help with. So moving to number 3, I call it guilt be gone. So one of the huge things about Working Genius is that it really lets us know what we're good at and what we're not, or what frustrates us. And it's because these are our God-given gifts. It's just okay. You're okay. It's okay to be bad at finishing things because that's who you are. You're great at helping people. You're great at using your gut to help people make decisions or to come down with that perfect invention. But it's okay if you don't enjoy sitting and wondering, and it's okay if you don't enjoy finishing things. Are you going to have to? Absolutely, right? It's not an excuse to not finish things, but you're going to be able to say, you know what? I can ask for help here because this is something I'm not great at. Sorry. So you can just let go of the guilt. Let go of the guilt of the things that are your frustrations, that are frustrating to you, that even are just in your competency level, and say, you know what? I know I need to just take a break from this right now. And I'm going to go work in my genius, which leads me to my number 2, burnout recovery. So burnout is so prevalent right now. And a lot of it, yes, is because there's too much work. But a lot of times it's because there's too much work outside of our geniuses. And so I'm going through some stuff right now that is forcing me to work a lot in tenacity, which is a huge frustration for me. So there are many times I get so exhausted working in that tenacity. And so sometimes, yes, because I've been sick, yes, I need a nap. So sometimes, yes, I'll go take a nap. But other times, I just know I need to work in some time to use my geniuses. So some time to go help somebody, or to just kind of be social, or maybe some time to be spitballing with somebody. With the D, discernment is one of my geniuses. One of my most favorite things to do is to get into what's called the ID loop. So invention, discernment loop. So an inventor is going to invent something, but might not be able to tell whether it's any good or if it's going to work, but a discerner will. And so that back and forth loop is one of my most favorite things to do in the world. A, because I get to discern, but B, probably because my E gets in there as well, and I'm helping the inventor. And so, or the thing that we're talking about is going to help people eventually. So really it plays to my genius as well. So doing something like that can be almost more energizing than just taking that little nap. And so when we look at ourselves and we're saying, oh my gosh, I'm so burnt out right now, start thinking about your genius and say, all right, what are my geniuses? What are the things I love doing? And then do that, because that is going to help you recover faster than taking that nap. Because sometimes the nap, we know we still just feel groggy, or we still got to go back and do that thing that's in your frustration. And so this burnout recovery is absolutely huge. And so the number one thing, drum roll, is that it's all about bringing people joy. So my main mission in life, vision for my business, is that I'm bringing joy to people. I'm bringing the joy of God into their life. I'm just bringing them joy in general. And this is a really objective way to do that. So my engineer life comes in, my engineer brain likes this because it's like, hey, there's a very simple way to do it. These are the things that bring you joy. How do you do more of them? How do you get your team doing more of them? How do you get your spouse doing more of them? Your friends doing more of them? Your mom, your uncle, so just start looking at that in life. And so if you can bring joy to others or bring joy to your team, how much more effective and impactful is your team going to be? So as a leader, a big part of what we do is understanding people's needs. And so people need to use their geniuses, because these are the things they've been given to use to bring about their mission in life. And if you can help them find that, if you can help yourself find that, now just think of how people using those gifts, working together, think of how much of an impact that's going to make. And so those are my top 5 reasons. So now the exciting part. So to share with you all the joy of the working genius, I am doing a little contest. It's not really a contest. It's more of a random draw, but for my email subscribers. So I'm going to pick 3 email subscribers to get a free Working Genius assessment and a free 30-ish minute chat with me. It'd probably take a little longer because it took me 25 minutes just to talk about it on the podcast. But spend some time with me. We'll go through your geniuses. We'll talk about what it means. We'll analyze how that looks for your work and talk about, what that means for how you're leading or how you're interacting with your family or your spouse or whomever. So if you would like to have the chance to win that free assessment and free 30 minutes with me, then subscribe. I've got the link below here. So click on that, put in your name and your email and subscribe. And in the next 2 weeks, I will pick a random winner. So today's November 1st as I'm recording. I'll probably launch the podcast in the next few days. So in the next few weeks, so figure around November 14th, 15th range, I will announce the winner on the podcast. I'll probably go live or something like that and announce my winners. And you'll get an email from me that will say, hey, you've won. Click here, to schedule your assessment and schedule your time with me. So if you'd like to have that opportunity, click below. Please share it with your friends. So anyone else you'd love to share the joy of Working Genius with, share it with them. And I hope to see you next time on the Business Building Blocks podcast. I'm Kristina Schmidt, and I look forward to helping you find your joy.